Hey gorgeous soul, I'm Zoe and welcome to the Oasis State podcast, a space where we decode life's mysteries and embrace the what the fuck moments that make it magical. Let this podcast be your trusted companion on your wild journey of transformation, healing and soul expansion. Together, we'll dive deep, celebrate our technicolor existence and turn life's chaos into pure magic. Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome back to another episode of the Oasis State podcast. I'm your host, Zoe, and I'm very grateful that you're here. Okay, let's get into our first... I say first because I'm actually batch recording some episodes today, so this is just, you're listening to it whenever you want, but this is the first one that I am recording today. I have just come out of the most beautiful birthday portal. I turned 34 a few days ago, and this episode is just about a few things I observed through the process of celebrating my birthday. So I basically set the intention this year to have a very low-key birthday. And then I reflected on the last week and realized that I'd spent 4 of the last 7 days celebrating my birthday. So I would like to coin that to very queen-like behavior, because I feel like my intention to have a low-key birthday was actually a bit of a protective mechanism, and coming from a place of lack or a fear of rejection as well. So a bit of context, my life has changed so much in the last year. And as we know, when our birthday comes along, in my personal experience, when my birthdays come along, it's quite a reflective time. And I feel for a lot of people that that opportunity to reflect can actually be really confronting and really intimidating, because we can be really hard on ourselves and we can reflect and instantly go into this, self-deprecating narrative of I didn't achieve enough, or I'm not worth celebrating. All of these horrible stories can surface up in a time, so your birthday, in a time that should be so beautiful and so relaxed, and when you take your hands off the steering wheel and move into a place of just receiving and celebrating yourself and leaning into that self-reflection without hesitation. So I realized that my intention to have a low-key birthday was actually just a protective mechanism, because as I said, my life has changed a lot in the last year, and I had to basically end 3 of the closest relationships I have in my life within that year. And since then, I've had a lot of beautiful people come into my world, but it still feels like I'm, a little baby duckling. What a funny analogy. A little baby duckling learning how to walk in this new chapter of my life. I've moved an hour away from where I originally was. So basically just Northern Rivers, which is northern New South Wales, up to the Gold Coast. So a new community. I've moved from a busy share house where I was the leaseholder and, overseeing the rent payments and bills and maintenance of the house and, the communication between the landlord and the housemates, the other tenants at the time. So that was my living situation last year, and now I'm living in a studio by myself, and it is just the most cathartic, beautiful, amazing experience, but it's also a change. So after I had the initial excitement and novelty of living by myself wear off, it was a harder adjustment than I ever expected. So I'm only 6 weeks into living in my new place, and I've had to adjust to that, had to move through any illusions of separation, any feelings of loneliness, any triggers, anything like that. So like I said, my birthday's come along and it's 6 weeks into the year. It's February at the time that we're recording this episode. And basically, I realized I set up this intention to keep my birthday really low key and really small, because it was a protective mechanism to not use the opportunity that is your birthday to reflect on what I've achieved in the last year. Thankfully, I have beautiful family members and beautiful friends that sort of egged me on a little bit and sort of questioned why I was feeling so uncomfortable about celebrating myself. And I'm sure we all know that feeling. Everyone's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? And your internal dialogue or a direct conversation might be like, I'd really fucking love someone else to take the lead and tell me what the fuck to do on my birthday. It can be really, really uncomfortable, but it's not something that we need to just accept as fact. why not shift that discomfort of celebrating yourself and being put in the spotlight and put into almost like a leadership role when everyone's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? That means that you have been given an invitation to tell people exactly like it is, you know? Why not use that discomfort and that resistance that I was feeling to transmute it back to a place of embracing the main character energy of my life again? Because that's sort of like a theme in my life, and has been for years. I'm very committed to becoming the best version of myself and stepping into my power. And as women, I think our empowerment journey is learning to have an identity, to learning to celebrate ourselves and become the main character of our lives. So it was really, really interesting what came up when my birthday was coming closer. Like I said, I had beautiful friends and family that sort of, didn't ask me to act from a place of like inauthenticity. So they were like, if you don't want to have a big party, that's completely fine, but we also shouldn't do nothing, you know, just that really beautiful safe space to be like, why don't you have a little look at why you don't want to celebrate your birthday? And I was like, yes, okay, that's very true. And like I said, I've had a lot of changes over the last year, so I think I just wasn't really ready to reflect on those yet. And like I said, I've ended a lot of important relationships to me, and you know, there's still a grieving process there. There's still, you know, a recalibration that's happening, and I'm in complete trust and surrender that those relationships needed to end, and they were for a version of myself that I just am not anymore. So it's completely fine. But obviously when you know, these milestone moments and events come up in your life, like I said, you can't help but get reflective. So I was being invited to, you know, grieve and look at and practice forgiveness and practice trust and surrender for those relationships that were no longer in my life. But then also being invited to step into my main character energy with these new connections in my life and allow the invitations that I was given through them to allow myself to really feel into how I wanted to celebrate myself. Because birthdays are just the most beautiful portals to move through. But I basically just got sick of every year that my birthday came around. I felt so anxious about it, and I felt so uncomfortable with the idea of reflecting on the year that has been and where I want to be this year moving forward. Like my 34th year of life. What a fucking honor to be alive, you know? So that reflective time can get really intimidating. But all of that intimidation comes from, like a lack of self-worth and a lack of self-love. And, you know, turning that lens inwards towards yourself can be really, really uncomfortable. But I welcome the opportunities and I welcome the discomfort when it comes along. And I'm like, ooh, okay, why am I resistant to looking at myself and celebrating myself and inviting the beautiful community around me to be led by how I want to celebrate my birthday, you know? So that was really beautiful. And so I celebrated with my family over one weekend. On my actual birthday, I spent the day with one of my dearest friends, and it was low key in the sense that like it was raining, so we were going to go for a surf, but it wasn't the greatest conditions. So we just ended up at a cafe having the deep chats that we always have. We got like this yummy Biscoff croissant and just went for a walk around beautiful, got a bit of a cramp. Went for a walk around Tallabudger Creek, and just, it was really low key in the sense of what we were doing. But the fact that I was even just allowing myself to celebrate my birthday was really beautiful. And then in the evening, I went and spent some time with a beautiful man I have in my life at the moment, and I was wined and dined and worshipped, and it was really wonderful. And then the weekend I went out with two of my friends, and we had a few drinks and had a boogie, and it was, I suppose, low key in the sense of if you want to compare it to what I did for my 18th or my 21st, but I'm just so grateful that I didn't completely check out on an opportunity to spend some quality time with my loved ones and celebrate myself, basically. So I just wanted to record this episode because I know it's quite a common thing and almost like a celebrated identity, or like seen as like this I'm so cool and nonchalant belief to not want to celebrate your birthday. It's like, wow, look how cool you are, or look how detached you are to not celebrate your birthday. And I'm here to like sort of challenge that belief because, like I said, I was really leaning into that leading up to my birthday. I had a lot of anxiety leading up to my birthday, and I was like, fuck. And I suppose it's like a fear of disappointment. Like we put so much pressure on celebrating New Year's Eve and celebrating our birthday like it needs to be the most beautiful day. And I realized I wasn't even celebrating the lead up to, like, excited for the lead up to my birthday, because I was just holding on to all of these pointless hurt, basically, like the hurt that I've had over the years of, illusions of rejections, illusions of disappointment. And I say illusions because they are not actually moments of rejection or moments of disappointment. They're just invitations to look at what identity you're holding on to, or what beliefs you're holding on to that have played out the experience of rejection and of disappointment. Because once you're moving into this main character energy and feeling completely empowered, you're actually practicing detachment and surrender and trust, like that very, very feminine energy. So you could, like you said, you could have a coffee on a rainy day for your birthday with a friend, and it was absolutely the most perfect thing they could have done. But if I held on to these old identities and these quite disempowered identities of, sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, that I needed to have, a really loud and proud Instagrammable birthday, and I needed to have at least 20 people at my party to feel popular and to feel loved. And yeah, this was really that year where I just let go of all of that, all of those old beliefs and stories and identities around this not so confident and empowered version of Zoe that, it's really ingrained in our society to look like you're happy and to look like you're, quotation marks, popular. And we can really play out that really shitty limiting programming through a birthday portal, because you're like, okay, I'm going to invite 50 people and we're going to take 50 Instagram stories from all these angles. I'm going to take photos of my presents and the flowers and everything and just show everyone how loved I am. And it's like, that's all well and good, but if you're not actually embodying that energy and receiving that energy, you're just putting it out there to the world to keep creating an identity of look how loved I am. It's a complete waste of your energy. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm here to spread the message on this episode about celebrating yourself, but it needs to be celebrating it authentically, not through this lens of societal values, which are quite warped, of like, have more people at your party, or make it a big deal, or you need to have alcohol to, you need to have alcohol in your system to have fun. You need to look free and look dressed up and everything. Like, that's not celebrating yourself. That is perpetuating this identity of someone that needs external validation. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this year, when I was like really fucking sick, sick of my own shit. But that's what it is, guys. You get so sick of your own shit that I was like, I don't want to, every year that I'm leading up to my birthday, to just be anxiety ridden and then playing out all these limiting beliefs of like, I'm going to keep it low key, I'm not going to celebrate myself. It's because I was being invited to shift from this identity and this level of self-worth where I outsource the worth and the power and, the love that I have for myself with external validation through, like misaligned friendships, but like as long as they come to my party and I tag them in my Instagram story. So I'm really like throwing some shade on Instagram, but that's just the example that I'm using. But I hope you guys are getting that message. It's like, I was offered this opportunity through the discomfort and resistance that I felt to celebrate my birthday, to transmute from someone that outsourced my power through validation and through an illusion of being whatever that identity felt it needed to be. Like I said, Instagrammable or popular or happy or whatever. I just got that whole experience and playing out that programming again for another birthday was so fucking uncomfortable that I was just like, all right, and like I said, with the gentle support of my friends being like, you sure you want to keep it low key? And then it was this really beautiful opportunity to look at why I felt so uncomfortable and why I felt resistance. And I was like, oh, okay, I want to be the version of myself that it doesn't matter if I walk around on my actual birthday and no one knows that it's my birthday, because I'm celebrating it and because I'm aware that it's such a beautiful day because it's the day that I came onto this earth. Do you know what I mean? So leading up to my birthday, I actually practiced so much surrender and so much detachment of like, you know what, if I ended up spending, and it was, again, this narrative that I'm about to say was not from a place of victimhood or disempowerment, but I could get myself to this place of complete detachment. And my definition of detachment is I've got to be good either way. I've got to be good whether I have a really large, loud, exciting birthday, or I've got to be good if I have a birthday where, like I said, I'm not with any... Sorry. If you heard that in the background, that's my dog having a nap. Yeah, and I've got to be good even if I have, all of my loved ones around me have the best, most amazing day, or I've got to be good if I ended up spending a lot of time by myself on my birthday, or, I could walk around Coles or talk to the barista where I'm getting a coffee in the morning and no one knows that it's my birthday. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really had to tap into this space of relying on my ability to celebrate myself, which was through the opportunity of having my birthday. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. And I really practiced that detachment leading up to my birthday. And it really soothed any anxiety I had around what I needed to do around my birthday. Because I was like, well, I've reached this place where I know that I have enough self-worth and enough surrender and detachment, that I'm going to celebrate myself either way. And that was a really empowering place to get to. So through that process of detaching, all of these, and I suppose through the detachment or the surrender process, everything started magnetizing towards me, because I wasn't playing out this needy energy of like, I need all these people in my face to celebrate myself. Like, I need all of my, opportunities to celebrate myself reflected in my friends and family. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just knew that if I didn't move through that portal of feeling disempowered and relying on external validation and how everyone saw me celebrating my birthday, to a place of like, I'm just going to celebrate myself either way. You know what I mean? I moved from this like leaky, disempowered, very needy energy back into my feminine energy, which is very magnetic. It's from a place of gratitude. It's from a place of self-worth. And I magnetize these opportunities into my birthday week. I didn't even expect to have a birthday week, but I did. So yeah, and it was just such a beautiful opportunity to surrender to how my birthday was going to look this year. And as soon as I did that, I had two nights celebrating with my family, and usually my family is like scattered across the country. My sister's been in and out of my life over the years, and she's sort of come full circle, and we're really mending our relationship. That's making my mum really happy. She's retired now. She's not stressed out. And I went up there and received the most beautiful gifts from my family. You know, those gifts that are like so well thought out. You're like, this gift is genuinely for me. And it's not about the gifts or anything external, but I just surrendered to how that weekend was going to look, and it turned into the most beautiful weekend. I'm sitting there with 6 of my closest family members, and we are a very funny family. Like, it's very like Aussie humor. So we take the piss. We've got like that gentle, not bullying. But yeah, if you're an Australian, you're listening to this episode, you just know what our sense of humor is. And we are just bouncing off each other, having the best time. And this was the start of my birthday celebration. And I just would zoom out in so many moments, sitting at the table with my family, like, wow, I could not have created this situation through that level of control if I even tried. But it's because I got to this point of surrender and just going in and doing that inner work to just allow myself to be the main character energy of my life and of my birthday portal, and not control the how it was going to look, how it was going to play out, how it was going to feel. I just surrendered to like, I know that I'm worthy of celebrating myself, and I don't need to rely on anyone else to celebrate it. And again, that's not coming from this like, disempowered place or this like victimhood place. I just genuinely got to this like complete surrender of like, oh, my birthday's going to be beautiful either way. I'm going to be happy and be good either way. And I had this beautiful weekend celebrating with my family, a lot of quality time, and it was so amazing. And then, like I mentioned, my birthday was on a Thursday, and I spent that with 2 beautiful humans over the day and the night. And then I spent the weekend with a few more gal pals, and we went out and had a boogie, but it was all just play it by ear kind of energy. And I just know that past versions of me that wouldn't have felt as empowered or not as in touch with my feminine energy, which I said is very magnetic and very in that receiving state, I wouldn't have allowed myself to surrender to how my birthday was going to look. And it was just the most beautiful portal that I could have ever navigated through. And now I'm reflecting, I'm like, classic me. It's like even turning my birthday into like an opportunity to evolve. But that's it. This is such an enjoyable journey for me, this journey of empowerment and coming back to being the main character of my life. it's not like I'm there studying, my birthday and not actually being present with it. I've literally just spent, like I said, the last 7 days celebrating my birthday. And now it's a Monday morning. I'm sitting down and taking this moment to reflect on, wow, how amazing was that? And I'm reflecting and channeling these lessons through my passion, which is this podcast. And in the hope that I can help other people that feel that resistance to celebrating themselves, that anxiety around their birthday, and just realizing that it's an opportunity to move from this disempowered place where you need external validation to somehow reflect your level of worthiness through the opportunity of having your birthday, to being in a place where you're like, I love celebrating myself every day, and my birthday is an extra special opportunity to celebrate myself. But come what may, I know it's going to be a beautiful experience. Like, what? This is so cool. I just love coming to the other side of it. And yeah, I think I might wrap it up there, guys. Like I said, I just pressed record and thought I'd see what would come out. Oh, actually, no, there's one more thing. Like I was mentioning at the start of the episode, I think there was also some resistance to celebrating my birthday because it is also a reflective opportunity. What's the word? Introspective? I don't know. But basically, like I said before, it's an opportunity to do a review of the previous year that you've had. And then also an opportunity to look forward to what you want to achieve this year moving forward. And I know if you're in a disempowered state or feeling like a victim or lacking self-worth, those reflective opportunities, or, what's the word when you're like looking forward, like setting those goals moving forward and tapping into your desires, that can feel like a threat. That can feel overwhelming. That can feel, intimidating. So that's what I also realized when I had resistance to leading up to my birthday. It was like, fuck, like what if I don't like where I'm at now, blah, blah, blah. And to be honest with you, now I actually reflect on it and I can move through that surface level anxiety and that resistance, because that's just an identity that I was attaching to. And now I can come back to this place of detachment because I'm connecting to the more authentic version of myself that doesn't need for anything. You know what I mean? Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? I realized that resistance to reflecting is, sorry, I lost my train of thought with that. Yeah, maybe I should be wrapping up this episode. Anyway, I realized that, that's right. When I can move through that surface level resistance to my birthday, that my life gets better and better every birthday. I just was so caught up in that surface level resistance to being the main character, to celebrating myself, to actually realize that I love getting older. It is such a privilege to age. I am 34 years old, and we live in a society that makes us feel like getting older is a problem, is an issue. There's like, as a woman, they're like, we've got a biological clock in our ear at all times. And it's just fucking bullshit, all of it. Excuse my language. But when you can sort of get to a place where you're centered in your authentic self and you can block out all of that external influence, I realized, and you can realize this too, is that I love myself more and more every year. So I had this anxiety about reflecting on the year that I've just had, because like I said, I've got a lot of changes. There's relationships that have left my life. I've moved. I'm just starting a new life. It's sort of like a blank slate energy right now, and then I'm building my new life on top of it. So sort of the blank slate can get very intimidating. You can feel like you're getting behind, etc. All of that head noise that is just not helpful. When I could break through all of that, I realized, and I actually had this moment where I was sitting on the couch. I did some breath work. So this is in between hanging out with a friend during the day and going over to this beautiful man's house for my birthday evening. And I had, an hour or so by myself. I took my dog for a bushwalk and just actually leaned into that reflective opportunity. And I was laying on my couch doing some breath work with my rose quartz on my heart. And I tapped into this absolute portal of like unconditional love. And I did that by reflecting on how far I have come in the last year. It was not an easy year. It demanded that I sit in discomfort and I do the uncomfortable thing and I have the tough conversations. And I basically trim the fat in my life of all things that were not aligned anymore. And rather than seeing that as like, oh no, I've got a blank slate, like there's a lot going on in my life, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't have as full of a life, and you get into this unhealthy comparison. I was able to tap into this moment of like, being so proud of every past version of Zoe between her 33rd birthday and her 34th birthday, and being like, look at you. Even with blind faith and all of the discomfort and all of the fear and everything, you made the decision that supported you becoming your best self and your dream self again and again and again. And now I'm reaping the rewards of that. I've moved into this beautiful season of peace where I have this sense of safety and support from community to sit with that resistance to celebrating myself and actually shift that into, why the fuck am I not celebrating myself? Look at me go. So I'm literally there lying on the couch, just crying tears of absolute pride and joy for who I am, because I actually had that time to sit with that surface level discomfort and all of that resistance to reflecting on myself. And then I could really go through that portal to be like, oh my God, look at how far I've come. And I used the opportunity of my birthday to reflect on that rather than feeling resistance to it. So that was really beautiful and amazing. And if you think about it, this is another reflective point for you. If you think about it, did you like yourself when you were 18 years old? Did you like yourself when you were 21 years old? Like, yes, you might have had amazing parties and a big group of friends, or you were traveling in Europe or whatever you did. But if I reflect on my relationship with myself when I was younger, you could not pay me enough money to go back in time and be in those moments. And that was the shift for me of realizing how beautiful and amazing it is to get older. Because if you're doing the right things with your life and you're committing to loving yourself and becoming the best version of yourself and evolving and stepping into your passion, blah, 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 a side effect of that is that every birthday will get better. Every birthday you will have this opportunity to look at your year that you've just had and have complete pride and joy like I did, and go through this complete portal of love of like, wow, look how far I've come. And then you pivot that excitement and that pride and that joy and that satisfaction into excitement for the year to come. Wow, look at, like, in my example, look at what I did in a hard year. What the fuck is going to happen this year now I've stepped into this absolute place of peace and alignment? And there's just this energy to 2025 where I'm like, oh my God. So now I've pivoted that gratitude and that joy and that satisfaction for what I've achieved in such a tough year into excitement and confidence and self-worth for what I can achieve for the next year moving forward. Like, what? All right, guys. Thanks for staying with me. I sort of lost my words there a few minutes ago, but I'm glad that I stuck with it because I wanted to, invite everyone to use their birthday portal as a beautiful time to reflect, as a beautiful opportunity to love themselves more and celebrate themselves more, because it is such a missed opportunity. It's not cool to be nonchalant about your birthday. It's one of the most incredible days that ever happens in the year because you were born that day, and that's why you deserve to celebrate your birthday, and your loved ones and everyone on this planet deserves to celebrate their birthday because it is such an opportunity to love yourself more. And that's all that bloody matters. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I would like to ask if you have resonated with this episode, if you could subscribe, if you could leave a comment, if you could recommend this podcast to anyone else that you think would benefit from this, because it really just helps me in my mission to get my words in the ears of other women that need to feel more power and feel more loved, because I'm committed to creating a revolution of women that are stepping into their power, that are coming into their main character energy, because we need to be unlocking all of the gifts and activations and just the beautiful experiences of life that happen when women are happy and they're in their power. So thank you so much in advance, and I will speak to you on the next episode. Love you guys. Hey, beautiful soul. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Oasis State podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend. It means the world to me knowing that everyone who needs this medicine and magic can lovingly receive it. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out via social media, my website, or email. Can't wait to connect, and until then, sending you heaps of love.